So we will discuss today electrostatics. Electrostatics is the branch of physics which deals with the study of charges at rest. First of all, let us define charge. Charge is a basic property in which two bodies can attract or repel each other. Whenever two bodies are placed, or whenever a body is placed in an electric or magnetic field, then it experiences a force. That is the basic property of charge. Gravitation is the same, but that is attractive, and that is the macroscopic property. And electrostatic is the intrinsic property of charge. So charge has, number one, like charges repel and unlike attract. Like charges repel positive, negative repel negative, whereas positive attract negative and negative attract positive. Second, they are quantized. Simple meaning of quantize is they exist in quantas, files, and number of electrons. E, charge on one electron. Minimum charge on one electron is 1.6 into 10 raised to power minus 19 coulomb. Quantization means simply that if you have a group of electrons, then use this formula and find the value of charge, nothing else. It is additive. Charge can be added or subtracted also. Quantization leads to itself. If you have 5 electrons and you are adding 3 more electrons, it means it has total 8 electrons. So this is addition. Now question is, if it is of two types, positive and negative, what is a positive charge and what is a negative charge? In 600 AD, Thales of Miletus discovered about charge. He discussed the charge in terms of from Thales of Miletus. Then Benjamin Franklin also discussed vitreous and resinous as positive and negative charge. So, and then in 1897, Thomson told that charge is nothing but it is electron, and electron is a negative charge. Now question again comes, what is positive charge and what is negative charge? Positive charge means when you have deficiency of electrons. If the electrons are removed from a body, then this is called as positively charged body or a positive charge. And the charge when goes to a body, means electrons go to a body, that body is called negatively charged body. So now question is, can we charge a body? Yes, we can charge a body. So methods of charging. First method of charging is friction. Method of charging is friction. During a thunderstorm, clouds, what happens to the cloud? Lightning is observed. Why lightning is observed? Lightning is observed because when clouds move in the atmosphere, they acquire a charge from what? From air. And all clouds cannot have same charge. When they come close, the charge moves through air, and when charge moves through air, there is a lightning, and that's what we observe, the lightning, and that is due to friction. Suppose we come the hair, then here we find a spike in a hair. and scattering of hair. Why is that so? This is again when you rub comb with the hairs, then both of them acquire charge, and due to that, the charge, due to charge, the hair spread, or even the comb can attract small pieces of the dust particles, small leaves. So this is all due to the friction. Gasoline trucks have chains. Why? The chains are attached with the gasoline truck, because if it is moving in on road, air is giving it a charge, and when the chains which are conducting, of course, the charge on the truck is going down to the earth by what? By these conducting chains. Okay, there are several other examples of charging by friction. Second is charging by conduction. How do you charge a mobile battery? Battery is at low potential, electrical terminals at high potential. You just connect it through a charger and a wire. That wire is made up of conductor. What is a conductor? From which current passes. You understand what is the method of charging now? Transferring of charge from high potential to low potential through a conducting wire is called charging by conduction. For example, the charging of a battery. This is a simple math. Second is induction. You don't want to rub the body. You don't want to transfer the charge by wire. But then how? The method is induction, means without touching. Suppose this chalk has a positive charge. Suppose a body has a positive charge. I cannot say whether it can have positive charge or negative charge. It is brought in contact with a uncharged body. What happens? Here comes negative charge, here comes positive charge, just earth it. The whole charge will be removed from here, and what happens? The negative charge will appear on the body. So this body is negative charged. Now, what is the method of induction? Without rubbing, without touching, from a distance, if we charge a body, then this is called method of induction. Now come to the Coulomb's law. Coulomb says that if there are two charges separated by a distance, let us say r, then the force, you can simply use this formula for what? You can use this formula for similar to that of gravitational force. F m1 m2 r square. Here I will say F is equal to k q1 q2 by r square. Force is a vector. This is scalar, this is scalar, this is scalar. Square of r is scalar. So we have to find out the directions, but in later case I will find the directions by, let us have directions, multiply it with the unit vector. What is unit vector? Unit vector means which gives the direction, which has the value 1, but it describes the value force to give its direction. Now question is, what is k? K is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon, where this epsilon is further divided into two parts. This is absolute permittivity. This is absolute permittivity, and this is relative permittivity. Relative permittivity comes in action when you are comparing one medium with the earth. Generally, for air or vacuum, we consider it as 1. So what left behind is absolute permittivity. So K is generally we are using K is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. And in short, you always write F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square. Okay. is the value of it? Its value is 9 into 10 raised to power 9. You can find out the units of this: Newton, coulomb, meter, so meter square. So you can find easily the value of epsilon naught, 8.854 10 to minus 12, as well as the units. Here, if you are going to find out the value 1 upon 4 of epsilon naught, this is the value, and the units will be Newton meter square per coulomb square. Okay, Newton meter square per coulomb square, and from here you can find out the value of epsilon naught. So if the force, if we want to find out the force in a medium where epsilon r is, let us say, 80, then what will be the force? This will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught 80 q1 q2 by r square. Let us say this is the medium. Why I have multiplied? Because it's the formula. And what is the force when it is placed in air? 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 by r square. So divide them. What will you get? Okay, divide it. So if I divide them, then you will say that F medium upon F air or vacuum what left? 1 by 80. Oh, what is 80? Epsilon r. So what will be the definition of force? Epsilon r, force in a medium. So relative permittivity is equal to force in air to the force in medium. So force in air to the force in medium. Relative permittivity has no units. What is AT? Relative permittivity. Do you know what is the medium? It is water. So in water, the force is reduced. Okay, dear friends, I have told you that this force must be in vectors. So for that, let us consider a system in which we are going to find the direction of the force, or simply say Coulomb's law in vector form. Let us say one charge q1, let us say another charge q2. This is position vector. These are the position vectors, and in between them, what in between them is displacement vector. It goes from 1 to 2. Let us say r1 2 is the displacement vector. The force acting on this charge is F21. Force acting on Q2 charge is F21. So it will be equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square. What is R? R12 square. And you have to multiply it with the unit vector. So dear friends, this is the Coulomb's law in vector form, where you have considered a frame of reference, xy axis, two charges, you have proper displacement, you have proper vectors that define the position. So these are the position vectors, displacement vector. Suppose now I want to find the force on the first charge particle, then what will be its value? This is x, this is y. This is a charge q1, this is a q2, this is r1, this is r2. So beta, this is r2 to 1. Earlier we have considered 1 2. Now force is acting on the first charge particle. So it is force acting on first charge particle due to second charge particle. And now the F12 will be equal to K Q1 Q2 by R21 square, and this is R21. So what is difference in between them? This is same, this is same, this is same. Distance is same, displacement is same. What is difference? They are also same. No. It is a negative vector of 1. R12 is a negative of R21. So it means F21 is equal to minus F12. So F21 is equal to minus F12. So it means it also obeys Newton's third law of motion. For every action there is a equal and opposite reaction. If it is 2-1, it is 1-2. If it is 1-2, then it is 2-1. You can remember this point. Okay, so force acting on 2 due to first is equal to force acting on 1 due to 2 with negative charge. Both are equal. Action, reaction, equal, opposite. Okay, so this is Coulomb's law in vector form, and also here we prove that this Coulomb's law is also in consequence with what? With Newton's third law of motion. Linear charge distribution. This rule can be extended for linear charge distribution. You can have a body in which there is a one line, square, irregular bodies, volume. So then you define first the density. Linear charge density means charge on a line, charge per unit length. Let us say first of all define charge by length. So this is linear charge density. Okay, you can have a line, you can have a length dl, use the unitary method and find out the charge dqing on it. What will be its value? Q by L into dl. Why? If L contains charge Q, unit length contains charge Q by L, and dl length contains charge Q by L into dl. So this is the charge. Simple. Use the formula K Q1 Q2 K Q1 Q2. What is Q2? dq, and that is the lambda dl divided by r square. Q into dq, K Q1 Q2 by r square. Q1 is, let us say, Q, which is at here, distance is r. Okay, and this is the charge dq. So you can find out the value of force. Of course, this force will be due to small elements, so we can have this. In later stages, you can integrate it. Similarly, if it is area, then simply the density will change. If it is length, it is area. Then let us say sigma, surface charge density. Or if it is a volume charge distribution, okay, then what will change? Charge per unit volume. So here it comes rho. Also for area, for surface charge density, put area, and for volume charge density, put dV. So you can find out the value for linear charge distribution, surface charge distribution, and volume charge distribution. But dear friends, we will not use this distribution. In fact, we will use Gauss law to find out the charge. This is not the, you can say, you cannot get the exact value of this charge because the distance is varying. So force will not be constant. So we will use Gauss theorem. Let us discuss now electric lines of force. Suppose you have two bodies, uncharged bodies. You transfer some electrons from this body to this body. Oh, this is a positive body, this is a negative body. When we remove electrons, this is a positive body. When it goes to, it becomes negative body. So remember the basic concept that electric lines of force come out of the positive charge and enters into the negative charge. So this is the how you can remember. Okay, now what are electric lines of force? These are imaginary lines to represent the electric field. If there is a charge, it must have field. If it has field, it must have a force. So what happens to the second charge when it contact or when it comes in its region? Then we have to always plot electric lines of force. Electric lines of force, they always start from positive and at negative. Yes, of course, this is the first property. Draw whenever there is a curve, then you want to find out the direction at this point. Draw the tangent, because this is a mathematical tool to find the direction. So second property is tangent drawn on the electric lines of force gives the direction. Third property is they start from positive and at negative, that we have studied. There are so many other properties. The most important is this, that you cannot find this kind of nature. Oh, no. It means it has two tangent, two directions for one electric field. One electric field has two directions. No. So no two lines can cross each other because they cannot have two directions at one point. Okay. See the spacing, it is large, and here the spacing is almost zero, very close to each other. अरे चार्ज के नज़दीक क्या होगा? इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड विल बी मोर. You know, electric field is Q1 Q upon R square, sorry, KQ by R square. Electric field is inversely proportional to 1 by R square. Means if you are near to the charge, electric field will be more by using this formula. If we are near to the charge, electric field is more. So here electric field is more, here electric field is less. Now come to the spacing. You can also imagine that if spacing is large, means electric field is weak at this point. So E1 is greater than E2 by what? By this. Also, electric field of lines always lie, either they come out of it or fall on the body perpendicularly. You know the formula E is equal to dV by R, and you can say dV is equal to E dot dr, and that definitely it's a potential. Then you have to draw what? Okay, so this dot product shows that electric field is always, work is equal to Q into dV. dV is equal to work upon charge. If it is a equipotential surface, it is 0. Okay, so every point potential is the same. Potential is same, then what? dV is 0. If dV is 0, then either electric field is 0 or dr is 0. Why? Because it is EdR cos theta. This is not equal to 0, this is not equal to 0, then this will be equal to 0. And what does it mean? It means theta will be equal to 90 degree. That's why electric field is always perpendicular to the surface. It is a concept of equipotential surface. Okay, so there are other properties: very near to the charge, high density, away, large density, radially, longitudinally. You can define the properties, what happening to the lengthwise, what is happening to the diagonally, okay, longitudinally. So you can define other properties of electric lines of force also. Discuss electric field on axial line of electric dipole. This is a dipole, set of positive and negative charge, equal charges separated by a certain distance. Let that distance is 2L for simplicity. This is a dipole, and if I join this charge with the center of charge, this line passing through center of charge is called axial line. And if a line is perpendicular to this axial line, then we call it as equatorial line. So our aim is to find the electric field on axial line anywhere. Okay, so first of all, you have to consider a distance. Dipole is a simple body for you, so you will consider its distance from center. This distance is L, this distance is L, so this distance will be equal to x plus L, and this distance will be equal to x minus L, because this distance is x and this distance is L, so it is x minus L. And if this distance is x and this is L, then this is x plus L. So use very simple formula of electric field is equal to kq by r square. Okay, so find out the electric field for two charges, first for this and second for this, for positive charge and for negative charge at point P. So what is the difference between them? Nothing. Consider the magnitude. The difference is only of distance. So for positive charge, let us say E positive, this will be equal to kq upon x plus L square. And for negative charge, it is kq upon x minus L square. Charges are same, the distance is different, x plus L and x minus L. Okay, so electric field, whenever you are going to check the electric field, you have to always place a test charge. Sorry, we have to do this step earlier. Negative charge attracts positive charge and it is very close to it, so its electric field is more because distance is inversely proportional. So if it is near to this, then electric field is more, and that is very far away, so its electric field is large, and it also repel it. So it means the resultant will be equal to E negative minus E positive. You can also write vectors, okay, if you are going in a detail. So simply use subtract them, you will get the value equal to be 4xl upon x square minus L square square. 2L into Q is dipole moment. It means this is 2p x upon x square minus L square square. Suppose now the dipole is very short. Dipole is short means that this point is very far away from the dipole. Then in that case, x will be very greater than L. And if x is very greater than L, you can leave this L, so it becomes x4. So if it becomes x4, x will cancel out with x4, so what left is x cube. So for dipole, short dipole, electric field do not obey inverse square law. Its value is 1 by x cube. You can plot the graph for electric field between for electric field and displacement for using this formula. Okay, come to the point now. Electric field on equatorial line of electric dipole, I have told you earlier, this is positive charge, this is negative charge, and suppose I want to find the electric field on this line, this is equatorial. Okay, I have to put a positive charge, which is test charge. This will repel it, E positive, attract it, E negative. In magnitude, these two electric fields are equal. Why they are equal? Because this distance and this distance is equal. This distance, this distance, this distance are equal, then this distance must be equal. So they are in magnitude equal. So let us write it as E. Now if it is theta, it is theta, and it is we are dividing it from the center, then this will be theta, this will be theta, this angle will be theta, this angle will be theta. Resolve this electric field into two components. This component I require E cos theta, and of course its component E cos theta. These components E sin theta, this component and this component, they both will cancel out. So in reality we get electric field equal to 2E cos theta. So I got the value of 2E cos theta. So this is the resultant electric field. Okay, find out the value of electric field. This is L, this is X. So what will be the distance? X square plus L square under root. So we have to find out this distance. So it is Q upon X square plus L square under root square. Also cos theta, base upon hypotenuse, L upon X square plus L square. Q into 2L, P, and this will cancel out with this. So you will get X square plus L square power 3 by 2, because power 1 by 2, base is same, power will be added up, 1 plus 1 by 2, 3 by 2. So Q into 2L is P. Again for short dipole, when X is very greater than L, this L will be equal to, let us put 0, square will get cancelled with the square. Again this will be equal to Kp by X cube. For electric field due to short dipole on axial line is 2 Kp by X cube, and here it is Kp by X cube. So which one is more? For short dipole, electric field on axial line is equal to twice of that of equatorial line. For this is for short dipole. Okay, and also remember one more thing, that this do not obey inverse square law. Let us study now Gauss theorem. Gauss theorem states that flux enclosed within the surface is equal to charge multiplied by 1 by epsilon naught. Also flux is defined as E dot A. If we can integrate it, then E dot ds with vector. If theta is 0 degree, then its value is maximum, then we will say that EA. So simply I am going to use Q by epsilon naught E into A. So most probably I will use theta equal to be 0, because cos 0 is 1. So Gauss theorem is applicable for finding the electric field due to point charge. This is a charge, and suppose we have a test charge. Let us say this distance is r, then draw a Gaussian surface. What is a Gaussian surface? Gaussian surface is that surface at which every point electric field is constant. Dear friends, this is spherical in nature. Okay, so we have to find out the area of this Gaussian surface, which I have written here. So flux is equal to, I have written flux is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Okay, and what will be the electric field? Let us say electric field we have to find out, that is E. Okay, what we have to find out at this point P? Area. What is the area? 4 pi r square. Okay, E into 4 pi r square is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So this is equal to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Oh, this is Coulomb's law. Yes, of course. Gauss theorem holds good for Coulomb law. Suppose it is not a point charge. Then what? It is a sphere. Which sphere? Thin spherical shell, which is empty from inside, and it is charged. So I am going to calculate now the electric field due to a thin spherical shell. Again, consider a charge q naught. Well, I have to apply the same formula. Okay, formula will be same because the Gaussian surface will be spherical in nature. Its area of surface area will be equal to 4 pi r square. So what is the difference now? Difference is that I can find out the value of E at different points. This is outside the sphere. This is a sphere and we are calculating the value at this point. So it means this is outside the sphere. If I go on the sphere, let us say r is the radius, then r will be equal to capital R. So its value will be equal to q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. This is on the sphere. Okay. What will be its value if I go inside the sphere? Inside the sphere there is no charge because charge exists on mass, and if mass is 0, charge do not exist. So here there is no charge, so electric field inside a spherical shell is 0. You can also plot a graph between electric field and distance. Then you will find this kind of graph. Where is this kind of graph? Dear friends, this is the region up to r, and after that it has started reducing. Its maximum value is at what? At the surface. Then after that it starts falling. So its graph is inversely proportional to 1 by r square outside the sphere. Okay. So now let us calculate Gaussian theorem electric field due to the line charge, which I have defined earlier in using Coulomb's law, and I have told you that is not the exact value. So let us find out using Gauss theorem. This is a line. Let us say it has a charge of q, length L. Then you have to use this formula, q by epsilon naught is equal to E dot A. Gauss theorem. Flux, definition of flux, theta. In earlier articles I haven't mentioned why theta we have considered 0. If this is a point, this is the electric field, this is the area which is also in this direction. So electric field and area both are parallel to each other. That's why I considered theta 0. That's why cos 0 is 1. So this is E dot A. So it means E will be equal to q upon A epsilon naught. Oh, this is a wire. We want to find out the electric field at this point, which is at a distance r. Then what will be the Gaussian surface? What will be the Gaussian surface? Cylindrical Gaussian surface. So what is the area of cylinder? Which area? Surface area. 2 pi r L, and q upon length is linear charge density. So this is the value of electric field, lambda upon 2 pi r epsilon naught due to line charge. Find out electric field due to sheet charge using Gauss theorem and plate charge due to Gauss theorem. This is a sheet. This is a positive charge on it. Surface charge density q by area. Okay. So this is the point where you find out the electric field. Definitely you are going to have small. Okay. If you make infinite parallel such cylinders, what will happen? The same kind of Gaussian surface will be formed as this is. Okay, so that's why we draw here a cylinder surface, because infinite cylinder surface will make the same structure as it is. So phi is equal to q by epsilon naught, E into area. E is equal to q upon area epsilon naught, sigma by epsilon naught. No, this is not the value of electric field. What is a sheet? Sheet means if you apply charge here, that charge will come on its second size. So dear friends, it has twice area. So here is the difference, here is the difference, here is the difference. So this is the value of electric field due to sheet of charge. Now what is a plate? Plate is a thick. So for plate, this electric field will be equal to sigma by epsilon naught. This result we will use in capacitance. Okay. So what is a plate? Plate is a thick sheet in which suppose this is a plate. If I am writing here, it is not going to the other side. Okay, but if it is a sheet, just think that it is a paper and I put a mark on one side of the paper, definitely it will appear on the second side. So in for sheet, double area is covered, and for plate, single area is covered. That's why for sheet, sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, and for plate, sigma by epsilon. What is equipotential surface? A surface at which everywhere potential is same. Suppose this is a surface. This is V1, this is V2, this is V3. They are equal. Then what will be the potential difference? 0. What will be the work done in bringing a test charge from 1 to second point? 0. Okay. So equipotential surfaces are that surfaces on which the work done is 0. Potential difference is 0. Everywhere the potential is same. So the three properties we have discussed. So these are the properties. What is the definition is also property. What is the first property? Potential is same. Potential difference is 0. Work done is 0. On equipotential surface, electric field is 90 degree. Okay, this we have already defined that E dot dl will be also equal to 0. This will be equal to E dl cos theta. Okay, this cannot be 0, this cannot be 0, this cannot be 0, this will be 0. So theta is only 90 degree option. So electric field and length is this one. So they are perpendicular. This is the fourth property. Of course, if it is a positive charge, this is equipotential surface, this is equipotential surface. Oh, please draw proper diagram. Okay, so this is the first equipotential surface, second equipotential surface, third equipotential surface. Okay, what is equipotential surface? Where electric field is same, potential is same. Okay, so these two electric potentials or this one cannot intersect. How they can intersect? What is equipotential surface? This is the equipotential surface, this is another equipotential surface. Their values, they are two surfaces, their values are different, so they cannot intersect. This is the fifth property. Just like electric lines of force cannot intersect with each other. Electric potential. Electric potential is work done in bringing the charge. Means if a body having charge Q and another body Q naught is moved from this point to infinity, then we will say that the potential due to this charge is work done per unit test charge. That's why I am putting now Q naught. इलेक्ट्रिक पोटेंशियल किसका निकालना है? इसका निकालना है। डिवाइड किससे करना है? टेस्ट चार्ज से करना है. दिस इज द कंफ्यूजन वेयर यू ऑलवेज, है ना, यू ऑलवेज लीव दैट पॉइंट. This is of no importance, but it is only for a test charge. Okay, so we are moving in the electric field of this and moving it to infinity. Okay, joule per coulomb. No need to write joule per coulomb, simply write volt. Okay, Alexander D. Volt has defined the units. SI units are volt. It will confuse you so many times that what is the definition of electric potential, and if we do not move it infinity, then that will be the electric potential energy. So also electric potential is line integral of electric field. You may be surprised what I am writing here. No problem. Work is force into distance. Force is work upon distance. This force is equal to charge into electric field. Okay, come back. Q into E dot X. Q, work. Divide work by Q. Okay, so work upon charge is potential, and E dot X is a line integral. So V is equal to E dot dl, line integral of electric field. Also you say, if you differentiate it, you always say like this, that electric field is negative gradient of potential. Why you say like this? Why you consider negative sign over there? Because whenever we are going away from the charge, definitely electric field is reducing. And if we go near to the electric field of a charge, okay, then you say that potential is more. If you are moving away from the electric field, definitely this is the effect. What is the gradient? Gradient means जब हम किसी वस्तु से दूर जा रहे हैं तो उसका क्या प्रभाव पड़ता है. तो पोटेंशियल जब कम होता है डिस्टेंस के साथ, इसी को हम इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड का नेगेटिव ग्रेडियंट कहते हैं. ओके, सो फ्रॉम हियर यू कैन आल्सो give the units of electric field. Volt per meter. Sometimes you say electric field is Newton per coulomb. Sometimes you say volt per meter. Okay, so these are the two units. But this is not my topic today. My topic is electric potential on an electric dipole. On an electric dipole. Well, on axial line or equatorial line? No, at any point. Okay, at any point. Let us say this is electric tank. This is a dipole, positive negative charge, and no axial line, no equatorial line, but in fact at any point. Oh, it's very simple. If theta is 90 degree, equatorial line. If theta 0 degree, axial line. So I think it is more easy. But the problem is how to find out this distance. If this is x, this is L, no problem at all. Drop a perpendicular on it. Find out this distance. This is an extra distance. This to this is equal to this to this. This is A, this is P, this is B. So AP will be equal to BP, because if it is a radius, this is a circle, है ना? So for circle PA will be equal to PB. This is the extra distance which this length has. Okay, so if it is theta, it is very far away, then this is also theta. Am I right? Is this theta? There is a biggest problem to find out the angles. This is 90 minus theta. Okay, this is 90 degree. Okay, then what will be this value and what will be this value? If it is, this is also perpendicular in it. So this is theta, so this is 90 minus theta. This is 90 minus theta, and this is, so this is a problem with you people, that you always focus on the math. Let us cram it. Let us cram the simple value, है ना? So this is the base, theta and the angle. So cos theta is base upon hypotenuse, 90 के सामने वाला. So this is L cos theta. So total distance is x plus L cos theta. Similarly, if I extend it and drop a perpendicular, this will be also L cos theta. So this will be equal to x minus L cos theta, and this total distance will be equal to x plus L cos theta. So what is the difference? KQ by R. KQ by R. So we have to find out the potential due to two charges, V1 plus V2. Here they are not vector quantities. So do not use minus or plus here. Do not calculate its resultant. Okay, it's a scalar quantity. Simply you have to add them. So put the value KQ upon 1 is x plus L cos theta. This is for positive charge. And here comes the negative charge. Okay, it automatically comes negative charge because this is a negative and I put it here. Now take the value, take the LCM, and when you get the LCM, this is KQ upon this will be equal to 2L cos theta. Am I right? This will be x plus L cos theta. This will be minus x minus L cos theta. Of course you will get minus 2L cos theta. So let us leave the negative sign here or leave the mathematics. Very easy now. Q into 2L P. So it is K into P. So you can write here K P cos theta. K P cos theta. Okay. If it is equatorial line, then theta is 90 degree. Potential is 0. So potential on equatorial line at any point is 0 due to dipole. Okay. You can calculate its value by putting theta is equal to 0 on axial line, cos 0 1, and you will get the value on axial line equal to be Kp upon x square minus L square. So you can find out the value of electric potential on any point of electric dipole due to electric dipole. Okay, so this is the simple way. Capacitor is a device which stores the charge, and ability to store charge is called capacitance. We know that Q is directly proportional to V because V is equal to KQ by R. So Q depends upon V or V depends upon Q. More be the charge, more be the potential. Degree of electrification is called potential. Q is equal to CV, proportionality constant. C, this is called capacitance. So this is equal to Q by V. This relation is also very popular. You have to always remember this as Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. Okay, don't forget it. Now if charge is Q, you find out at this point the potential. Definitely you are going to drop this surface and you have to place a test charge. Then the potential will be equal to what? KQ by R. Okay, so KQ by R, this will be equal to R by K. What is K? 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught R. Oh, this is a spherical capacitor. This is the capacitance of a spherical capacitor. Yes, this is the capacitance of a spherical capacitor. Now 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to 9 into 10 raised to power 9. Okay. Suppose I want to make unit value of capacitance. The units of capacitance are farad. So let C is equal to 1 farad. Then C will be equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. This is 1. Cross multiply it. You will get R is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Its value is 9 into 10 raised to power 9 meter. What is the size of our earth? 6.4 into 10 raised to power 6, 6400 kilometer. Which one is large? This is large or this is large? This is large. Can you make 1 farad? No, we cannot make 1 farad capacitance because our earth is very small. Will you expand the earth? Will you fill air just like in the football and just like a tummy of a man? and it will expand, and then you will put air in it and it will continuously expand and expand and expand. No, 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 dear friends, I am joking. 1 farad capacitance is not possible because our earth has radius very less. Suppose if you want to calculate how many earths, use this formula as you use in your small classes. This is 4 by 3 pi r cube is equal to n times 4 by 3 pi r cube. This is the radius of the 9 into 10 raised to power 9. Okay, ulta pulta ho gaya r. Let us write it x1 and x2. That's why you will not confuse. X1 is bigger and x2 is smaller. Then you can find out the value of n. Okay, so 4 upon 3 pi x1 cube is equal to n times 4 upon 3 pi x2 cube. X1 is 9 into 10 raised to power 9 and x2 is size of our earth. You can find out the value of x. You will see how many earths can make 1 farad capacitor. Okay, so the possible units are picofarad. What is 1 picofarad? Minus 12. Nanofarad, minus 9. And the biggest is microfarad. It is also difficult. Okay, microfarad, nanofarad, picofarad, 10 raised to power minus 6, minus 9, minus. Let us discuss now principle of capacitor. This is a body in which give maximum charge to it. Let us say Q is a charge. Step number 1. Step number 2, place another body which is uncharged. Due to induction, what will happen? Negative charge will appear on this side, positive charge will appear on this side. Negative charge has reduced the potential energy, positive charge has increased the potential energy. In fact, the energy is distributed to this. Okay, so in fact we can say that we can add on more charge to this. So let us add some more charge. Further, in step number 3, earth hit. What happens? This positive charge will go to the earth. This positive charge, whole positive charge, will go to the earth. So only negative charge remains here, which will further lower the potential of the system. Hence you can add some more charge to it. So this is, so here we can add upon more charge to this system. So this is the principle of a capacitor. Now let us discuss capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Parallel plate capacitor. This is a capacitor. This is, let us say, D is the distance. Let us say A is the area of these two plates. Okay. Q is the charge given to it. We know Q is equal to CV. So if we will get the value of V, we will get the value of C also. Okay. So C will be equal to Q by V. What is V? What? Sorry. Electric field is negative gradient of potential. So V is equal to E into D. What is the electric field due to a plate? Sigma by epsilon naught due to Gauss theorem. Surface charge density. Okay, so here comes the point. Okay, so what is the capacitance? Epsilon naught A by D. Okay, so this is the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Suppose we introduce a metal plate. This is the metal plate. In metal plate, electric field is 0. So let us say its thickness is T. So the electric field is only outside this metal plate. So let us use this formula again. C is equal to Q upon V. Q upon E into D minus T. Why I have written D minus T? Here I have written E into D. Here I have written D minus T because electric field is present only outside this, and what is outside this? This portion is d minus t. Okay, so same step. So C is equal to Q upon area epsilon naught d minus t, get cancelled. So C is equal to epsilon naught A upon d minus t. So this is the value of the when conducting plate is placed. If I put t equal to 0, okay, that is a capacitance without any material medium, so capacitance in air. Okay, suppose now this material medium is dielectric. Beta, in dielectric, electric field is not 0. In fact, it is divided by the dielectric constant. Okay, so we can say that here at this point, this is Q upon E into d minus t plus E by K into t. अब इसमें इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड जीरो नहीं है, इनसाइड इट इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड इज नॉट जीरो. इसके बाहर तो इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड कितनी थी? E इंटू डी माइनस टी पोटेंशियल, ठीक है ना, क्योंकि उसके बाहर जो इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड की वैल्यू थी E थी, तो पोटेंशियल जो था वो इससे था. लेकिन अब ये एक एक्स्ट्रा स्टेप आ गया, ठीक है, तो ये स्टेप सो वही E इज इक्वल टू सिग्मा बाय एप्सिलॉन नॉट. ओके, सिग्मा Q बाय A एप्सिलॉन नॉट. So you will get C is equal to epsilon naught A upon d minus t plus t by k. You can put the value t equal to 0. Again, C is equal to epsilon naught A by d. You can put the value t is equal to d. Then it will be equal to C is equal to k times the C in the due to the material medium. Okay. This step, be careful. E into d minus t plus E by k. This step will not come when it is a conducting slab. And this t will not come when nothing has been put. So in that case only, so this is the difference. Q upon ED when air or vacuum is the medium, when conducting slab d minus t, when dielectric slab d minus t plus t by k. Okay, E into d minus t plus E by k into t. Then you can use the Gauss's theorem and to find the value of capacity. Let us discuss now energy stored in a capacitor. Consider a capacitor having charge Q. Let us add a small amount of charge dq. Definitely you will do some work. In fact, this is the energy. You know the formula, work upon charge is potential. This is equal to V into dq. Q is equal to CV. Q is equal to CV. So V is Q by C. So this is Q by C. Okay. You have differentiated, then you have to integrate it. And if you integrate it, you will get Q square by C divided by 2 because its power is 1. And after integrating, Q square by 2. So this is the energy stored in the capacitor, or this is a very common formula, 1 by 2 CV